each of us have come into being. Well, I think it's the same thing in the spirit. When Jesus, the bridegroom, and we, the bride, come into union, then the result is a new life, a child that bears his name, and the children are, their names are love, beauty, kindness, humility, patience, forgiveness, creativity, love, power, joy. Those are the children that are born out of that union of humankind to divinity. So, that's really, I've been taught in that construct, and that's why this metaphor of the irrigation system, and we're conduits in that irrigation system. So it makes sense to me that the union of humankind with divinity is just naturally going to produce good fruit, and good fruit isn't just what I hold here and what I experience here, it's everywhere. So I know that's a little lofty and a little whatever, but it's what it's partially what inspires me when I make these turns away from my negative perseverations into a more nurturing contemplation that I practice daily, or practice moment to moment. So that's that. And that took a whole 30 minutes to try to explain. I'm sorry if I bored you. You're welcome to give me a call anytime. I would love to hear from you. You can reach me at 203-605-9747. That's 203-605-9747. I would like to get back into doing the monthly talk live call-in show, but I'm not sure when all that's going to happen. But I do have that in mind, and I am continuing to consider that. But for now, you could just call me if you want. Whether it's a criticism or a support or a comment, I am interested to hear what people have to say. You may not be interested in what I have to say, but I am interested to hear what you have to say. And speaking of which, I'd like to just make a little comment about that, of saying things that people don't want to hear. I'm sure Jesus said a lot of things people didn't want to hear. So our idea in this culture of ours that if you say anything to anyone, if they happen to be offended by it, and if there's anything you could have said to avoid the likelihood of an offense being taken, then clearly that's the loving, better way to go, is really just not true. I mean, it just isn't. Now, we don't go out of our way to offend anyone. We don't look for opportunities for hurting people. But I'm sure Jesus could have done something different than publicly call the Pharisees, who were the religious elite at the time, snakes. I'm sure he could have done something other than that. They called them snakes. So am I saying when you call me, I'm going to call you a snake if you're a snake? Maybe, but probably not. But I need to stay true to what it is that I believe God's got me doing and saying. So it may not sit well with you, and in which case just between you and God, move on with your life. Don't look for something I say to like make you feel better. Now, you might think that, well, that's not a very good example. Jesus calling the Pharisees, publicly calling the Pharisees snakes. Well, that's fine. You don't have to use that. There's tons of other examples in the gospel where Jesus is saying something that is not taken very well, hence his crucifixion and death. If he was always looking for the politically nice thing to say where everybody gets along, there'd be no reason to kill him. So why is it that we are called into a life of saying things that people aren't going to want to hear, and will end up in us being persecuted for the gospel's sake, even to the point of losing friends, jobs, livelihood, and life itself? I mean, that's it. If you're looking to sell something, you probably don't want to mention all of that. That's how we think, but the reality of the gospel is that it's always an affront, it's always an offense to those who are rejecting it, because it demands a response. Jesus came as the Lamb, slain before the foundation of the world for the forgiveness of sins. You accept him, you enter into his realm. You reject him, and you don't. People just rather, I don't want to hear it, just let me go about my life. I'm clipping my coupons. I'm getting on a train to New York. I'm going apple picking. I'm bringing my kids trick-or-treating. I'm getting recipes ready for Thanksgiving. Don't bother me with this Jesus stuff because I'm fine without hearing it. Well, see, it's just almost like a threat just to hear who Jesus is. And the idea of this lamb slain before the foundation of the world is that we need the presence of God in us to be that life source of continually making good choices. We can't muster that spirit up ourselves. We need to be connected with God so that his spirit and his life is in us and working through us. And the best way I know of doing that is by accepting that you need a mediator between yourself and God to be entered into that realm, to be accepted into that realm, to be transformed into that realm in a very gracious, loving manner. I think people misunderstand this born-again experience or this commitment to Christ because they look at it like just like it's just like an unnecessary fabrication that man has created. But if you look at it in the sense of, you're raising your own child, and your child is rejecting your advances of love. They don't want to be hugged. They don't want to eat your food. They don't want to live under your roof. They don't want to submit to your rules. They don't want to bear your name. Where is the relationship? Where's the opportunity for love? Where is the opportunity for transference of goodness and life and joy and peace if there's that kind of a rejection. I think that's probably the best way I can put it.